I love it. Hey everyone, welcome to another session of conversations with courageous cancer warriors. And I absolutely adore today's guest. I have to tell you, I'm gushing over here about welcoming Temi Ayodeji to you today. Temi, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a blessing personally for me to be able to speak with you, your viewers, and just tell everybody who I am, what I'm about, my journey, and hopefully at the end of the day, everybody will have a lot of things to take away, not just one thing, but things that they can apply to themselves or apply to the people that they care for and just their approach to life in general.
I absolutely love it. Now, I feel that you embody and resonate what we strive to do here on this show. And that's just being positive and joyful. And you know what? Life gives you lemons and you make lemonade. Now, you are married, a mom of two teenage boys, and you're a caregiver. I think that's fair to say, for one of your boys who's on the autistic spectrum.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so you're currently homeschooling, and from this, you have then recognized that you're ultimately an expert in like the healing arts.
Yes.
So I would love to hear how that all transpired.
Oh, sure, no problem. And just to add to that caregiver story, because I know this is what your group is all about, my husband actually had cancer a few years ago, and thank God he's what we all strive to have, a cancer survivor. And that was another moment in my life, basically, that was really difficult, but I'll get into that as we go along. So to answer your question, I originally was an artist. I graduated college at the age of 19 as an artist, and I went to do graphic arts. And that was in Nigeria. I came back to the States and wanted to continue with art. But unfortunately, that wasn't the path that God led me to. And I went into occupational therapy, which I loved with a passion. And I acquired other degrees, 3 more degrees. So I have a total of 4. And I said, okay, let me get my PhD in occupational therapy. And it was the year that I was going to start my PhD program that my then 3-year-old son suddenly and mysteriously lost his ability to speak. Just like that. This was on a vacation to Hawaii. And we thought it was jet lag. You know, when you have 2 little boys 20 months apart, you know, and one doesn't talk, we just thought it was just jet lag. But a week after we came back from vacation, I started noticing that, no, this is more serious. My husband, who's a physician, told me, forget about it. It's all in my head. You know, I spoke my boys, but I knew something was wrong. And this was the OT that was thinking. And we unfortunately got the diagnosis about 3 months later that he had PDD-NOS, which is a form of mild to moderate autism. I was told back then I should prepare to put my son in an institution and I should prepare to use modified equipments. It was just not and I'm smiling when I'm saying all this because it's amazing to me how far we've come.
Yeah.
And we were just told to modify a lot of things. So which was like, okay, fine, we'll have to modify things. But for me, it was just like, oh, hell no. We're not going to modify anything. But anyway, let's fast forward. I used all my skills as an occupational therapist to zone in on making sure that he was able to regain a lot of the skills that he had lost. I surrounded myself with other therapists who, if I asked them a simple question, do you think my son can get better? All I need to hear was, sure. Yeah. Then you and I will work together. If they said things like, well, we will try, I always said, great, let's schedule an appointment, and I'll never go back. Yeah. So my son was able to speak a year plus after he lost his ability to speak during a speech evaluation. He said the word stop and turn, and I just bawled because I hadn't heard his voice in over a year. And I knew, yes, he's going to get better. It's going to be hard work. And I must say it's been hard. It's been hard. It's been a struggle. But over the years, I continued to do what I need to do. I sacrificed my career in OT. I wasn't working full-time anymore because I was homeschooling him. And during the years I was homeschooling him, my husband went into renal failure. He didn't want to he didn't tell me that he was in stage 1 renal failure, stage 2, stage 3, until he got to stage 4. That's when I knew. I know some of you listening are saying, how could you not know? The question is, when you're so busy with one child on the spectrum, it's very easy to ignore other things. And my husband was very good at keeping it because, my life was so consumed with our son. So when he got to renal failure, stage 4 renal failure, and he told me, I was out of myself, trying to figure out, this man's going to die. That was the first thing that came to my mind. This man's going to die. What am I going to do? I mean, I can't live without him. And I told God, Lord, forgive me. I have to tell them what I said. I'm like, how dare you? This is what I told God. You promised me that this man and I will raise our children together. We'll watch them succeed. We'll watch them get married. We'll see our grandkids together. I'll be the grandmother that will spoil my grandkids rotten and say, play pranks on grandpa. I had envisioned this life, and now he has renal failure. And my voice is cracking a little because it does crack when I tell this story. But I was planning to give him my kidney back then, but then found out 3 months later, I couldn't. He ended up getting diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Okay. Because what you have going on as a family isn't enough, right? You need to throw that in the mix.
Throw that into the mix. And that was when really a lot of things really changed. Mm-hmm. And when I think about the things that I went through, the things I had to do, my plan is to actually do a course later on next year where I'm going to really talk about the things that I did and to help a lot of caregivers out there, because there are other caregivers that I knew, but we didn't handle things the same way. Mm-hmm. And it really helped me. I'm very outspoken, but I respect my husband a lot. But in this situation, when it came to his cancer, he wanted to do one treatment. Mm-hmm. I said, no, we're going to do the other treatment, which for all intents purposes, you have some listeners that, have prostate cancer. There's a treatment where they give you the pellets, where they insert that, mm-hmm. which was fine. But my question was, if you get that treatment, what are the chances of the cancer coming back? They mm-hmm. said, well, we are hoping it doesn't come back. But okay, what about his kidneys? Would he be able to be on the donor list? They said no. Then I said, oh, hell no. We don't want no pellets. My husband was like shocked. And I said, let's do the surgery. And the doctor looked at me as if, are you sure you want to go down that route? And I asked questions like, what's mm-hmm. the worst that can happen? Then they said, well, it could affect his ability to perform in the bedroom. And I was like, okay. And that was my response. I'm like, who gives a flute?
Yeah, you're talking about his life. And
and I told my husband, don't worry, we'll just invite Antoine. The doctor, my husband was like, who's Antoine?
I'll find him, don't worry.
No, I said a toy or something. And when I said that, they both started laughing. My husband was so I didn't even know when it came out of my mouth when I said a toy. I said, I don't know. Just no, don't worry about that. We just, you have to be alive because I need to torture you. I said, you're going to live till you're 100.
Right.
And he did that. He was cancer free for 2 years, got on the donor list. And last year I said I was going to give him my kidney. I couldn't give him my kidney because we don't match, which was like another
whole other conversation, right?
Yes, but God is good. The hospital that we use, which is Mayo Hospital, they have a program where I could be a living donor to him. Yeah. So because I was willing to donate my kidney to somebody that I don't know, and that person has a living donor like I am to my husband, that matches my husband, we were able to get that match. So on June 2nd this year, he received his new kidney, and somebody in Arizona has my kidney. And I say somebody because I don't know who they are. And I refuse to know who they are simply because I don't want anybody to be indebted to me. This is a sensitive topic because some people don't understand why I don't want to know them. I said, because listen, it's one thing for me to have my husband. It's another thing for someone to have a new lease on life. But I don't want them to feel like, oh, if not for me, they won't be here. It's not because of me, it's because of the Lord. That's what I say. So every day, wake up, be thankful to be alive, live your life. It's like it's the last. Make footprints in everybody you meet, be it the lady at the grocery store or the garbage man or the mail lady or the mailman. Use your life for good every day. And that's why I don't want to know who they are. So every day I celebrate my life. I celebrate my husband. I celebrate my son. That is a very long answer to a question.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. I love it. Please keep talking. So again, like I said in the beginning, like I'm a little speechless right now because I knew you had a story, but I didn't expect that story, right? Like
it's deep.
As a person who has gone through cancer myself, I've worked in pathology. I'm a pathologist assistant. So when you talk to me about prostate seeds, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one of those things that like you were such a stand for him that I know you're not going to take the credit for any of it, but like I acknowledge you for being the stand for him at a time when sometimes people can't be a stand for himself. Not saying that he's weak, but as a cancer warrior myself, there are times where there's so much going on, especially when you're in the medical field, that you know too much, right? Like I knew too much about my diagnosis. That's how I came to be a coach, and why I'm doing what I'm doing, why this podcast is even here, is because I was completely overwhelmed by the process because I knew the good and the bad of what could happen. And the fact that you're a stand for your children, you're a stand for your husband, you're a stand for yourself, and you're a stand for people that you don't even know is truly just amazing. And it's like I want the whole world to know who you are, because you embody what it means to be a person of service and to be a person who truly believes that there is good in the world, and that there's always hope, you know?
There is.
And
if we don't, and I'm sorry for cutting into you. The thing is, my approach to life really is this. Life, they say life is short. People say life is short. But my perspective is, you know, sometimes life is pretty long, especially when you're going through things. You're like, oh God, when is it going to be over? When you're going through hardship, life is long. But when things are good, life is short. And in that midst of chaos, where you don't know what to do, my approach is one: I'm not alone on this journey. I'll be honest with you. Why am I saying I'll be honest with you? I'm not lying. People say, well, I'll be honest with you. When my husband, you know, got the revelation that he's going to have to undergo dialysis when he was in stage 4, and I said my world was in shambles, I couldn't tell anybody because he told me not to tell anybody. And that's a cultural thing. Okay, I'm Nigerian. It's a cultural thing. It's like, oh, nobody better know that you're going through this kind of hardship. And I had to zip. In church, I had this smile. Hi, how are you? I'll see you. How are you? How are the kids? Are doing great. And I knew how to play that role of everything is fine. Because you see, when my son lost his speech years ago and I was working, and I would have those patients, those lovely people ask me, how are you boys? Because I live in Alabama. How are you boys? And I said, oh, they're doing good. Thank you for asking. And I'll say, could you excuse me? These allergies are just hitting me too bad. And I'll go to the bathroom and I would cry because I was lying through my teeth. So everybody thought I had allergies, but I didn't have allergies. I was just always crying because I was living this secret lie that everything was okay, but it's not. And I don't like bless your heart. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't like that.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
don't
if you can't give me a solution, I don't need your pity,
Yeah.
you know, but it's hard to tell people I don't need your pity because then it comes across the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I know how to play that role, fast forward, you know, of just pretending that everything was fine, but things were not fine, you know. And when he had cancer, it was another, I kind of felt bad for him because I knew he too was feeling bad, that there were things that he wanted to do for me as a husband that he could not do.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more a matter of, okay, I gained weight. I gained 40 pounds. Okay. So this is post everything. But I still look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I am so hot and pretty, man. So
You're beautiful. Absolutely.
So this is a caregiver mentality right now that I'm sharing here. Things might not work out, but you really have to find the joy and the beauty in everything and just find something good, hold on to it, and just run with it. So my husband comes back from work. I'm like, don't you have a hot wife? And he just laughs. Because like, who greets their spouse like that? Normally it's supposed to be, how was your day? I know your day was rough. Just say something positive to me. Right. So we're not alone on this journey. And I just pray that everybody like me have at least one person that they can talk to. I had my mother, thank God. Some people rely on faith, you know, praying, which is great, which is good, which I did. But then there are the times that you need to hear that audible voice in return, or that person talking back to you saying, you'll be fine. Or that person can just pick up the phone and then just vent, because it's not easy. I know it's not easy. I know it is not easy. But if we lose hope, there's no need to expect recovery. There's no need to expect healing because you've lost hope.
Yeah. And you said something that really resonated with me, because when I was going through my own journey, I really kept it a secret. And it was one of those things that, because I didn't want the pity, right? I couldn't handle managing other people's emotions besides my own. And here I am, I'm in this struggle, and 8 months later, and I know he's fine with me talking about this, like my dad ended up getting diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So as I was trying to heal myself, I then became a caregiver to him. And it completely, you know, turned my world upside down, which is why your story resonates with me, because I left a job that I loved. I left a city that I loved. I literally put everything in storage and moved back home just to be a support, because it's such a trying time. And that was after he got diagnosed with prostate cancer too. Like we had already been down that road with him where we're like, come on, how is this happening to you twice?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, like, when you're in that position, you set the tone of what it's going to be like. And like, for me, I found like I had to be the strong one, even though I wanted to cry. Like if I broke down, then everybody around me would break down. So they were looking to me for support. So how did you manage that? Because you have 2 small kids, you have a husband who, you know, he knows a lot and he's just dealing with himself, because as a cancer warrior, you just deal with yourself and your feelings. Like, what did you do? Did you meditate? Did you, like, is that how your art came about? Like, talk to me. How did you, what did you do?
There are 2 things. You know, remember I said I have 2 sons, 20 months apart.
Yeah.
So my older son, he reminded me of something that I had told him years ago when his younger brother was not speaking, and he was in early stages of the spectrum. And every night we would pray. And in my prayer, I remember the prayer because my son reminded me. I always said, Lord, thank you for healing Matthew. And one day, I never knew his older brother was always listening. One day he said, do not cry. I'm talking to myself. Do not cry. He said, Mom, remember when I asked you, why are you thanking God for healing Matthew? Because Matthew's not healed. So why are you thanking him? And I remember that question. I said, yeah, I remember. And he said, you know what you told me? I said, yes. I said, do you remember what I told you? He said, yeah. He said, it's always good to be thankful for the things that you're hoping for ahead of time, because when the healing comes, the healing would have come and you would not even have realized the healing is there until much later when it's a norm and something reminds you of the past and you're like, wait a minute, wasn't this what we were going through? So he was telling me, Mom, be thankful for God healing Dad, because when he's healed, you won't even know that he's healed. It is when he's doing things that he hasn't been able to do over the years that will say, wait a minute, wasn't your dad in this situation? And this was my son telling me this.
Wow.
I held on to that. So you see, that story of years ago helped him go through the healing process. So it wasn't hard for him knowing that Daddy had renal failure, Daddy was undergoing dialysis, Daddy had the cancer diagnosis. It was no stress at all for him. And I thank God for that. It's like God saw the future and he prepared him with that story from back in the day.
Yeah.
In terms of what I did, my art, like I said, I used to do art and design. My art had always been there, but I just didn't have time for it because I was so busy with my son. It was in the process of researching alternative ways to help children retain information because my son he had problems focusing, that I was researching different things, medication. We didn't medicate our son, FYI, let me just make that clear. We did homeopathic remedies, which was what I wanted to do. My husband was pro-medication and I said, no, that's the mom there that said, no, we're gonna do it my way. And we did, and I thank God today that we stuck with that. That's not to say for people who medicate their children on the spectrum, it's wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is what worked for me and my family. So about 4 years ago, my husband kind of noticed a change in me, a switch. I was literally losing myself because my world revolved around homeschooling during the week, working on weekends, taking care of my husband and the kids. I was a robot, literally a robot, to the point that food every day was like on a schedule. And my husband realized I was literally losing myself. So he asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I need a studio to paint. I need to paint. I need to paint. So we bought the house that we have right now, which has a studio. And we have the house. And I told my husband, I need money to build my studio. My husband said, you need to save. How am I supposed to save when I'm just working on weekends? You know? But in the process of like, okay, I need to really brush up on my skills. What are they doing in the art world right now? And I started learning different things, because no matter how much of an expert you are, you still need continuing education to fine tune your skills. I started doing some little things, and I stumbled upon one day while researching information for my son, fractal paintings. I was like, fractal paintings, interesting. So I researched what fractals are. It's very, very big. I'm not going to go into the definitions, all mathematical and physics related. And I stumbled upon someone that talked about how stress reducing art reduces the stress levels by up to 60% within the first couple of minutes. And I'm like, wait a minute, how is this possible? Mind you, at this time, my son is doing very well, homeschooling. Everything is being retained. Remember what I told you about before about the healing? The healing would have come, but it wouldn't have dawned on you until later on that you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I realized that the paintings that I had displayed in my home, which were embedded with fractals, was what was really helping my son. Unbeknownst to me, it goes back to what I said about that prayer that my son said, when you're thankful, the healing will come, but you won't even know the healings until much later on when you realize that this person is doing something that they didn't do before. And I noticed that, wait a minute, there's so much peace at home between my husband and I. I cannot tell the last time we had an argument, which is weird. We're married. So it's like, wait a minute, this art that I've been doing, that I'm displaying in my home, because people walk into my home and they just stop at the foyer and they stare at the different things that they see. This is what has been helping. And it was then that I had this, what do you call that, epiphany, that, wait a minute, if this is helping me, how many more people can this help?
Yeah.
And it's an alternative, to stress management. It's an alternative to to create that positive environment. It's something that people can have at their offices, because you have like doctor's offices, for instance. You come in, you're stressed out, and you're tapping your feet because you need to see this doctor. But if you have specific artworks that are there that are geared towards reducing the stress levels of the patient, by the time the patient goes into the back office to see you, their stress levels would have gone down significantly, which, apart from it helping them be able to retain everything you're telling them about the treatment process, it actually also helps them with the healing process too.
Right, exactly.
So, and I was saying, I need to get this out there. People need to know that this exists. And that's what I'm doing. So it's, I have the business, on one side, and I have, my personal life, still homeschooling my son. And I just love everything, the fact that I can merge the two.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You have created this path for yourself that is just symbiotic, and it just is a blessing for all. And I have spent some time on your site, and your work is amazing.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to, dig deep and talk to you about, purchasing some of them. But how can people find you?
Easy. Well, you can go onto my website, which is Temi. My name is Temi. If you can't remember Temi, think of Demi Moore. So take the D, put the T. So it's TemiFineArts.com. That's my website. And you can sign up for my newsletter on my website. And you'd also see something on my website where it says you can win a free trip. That is very, very true. Anybody that buys a print or an original, or you ask me for a commission, you automatically get a voucher to Mexico, a trip voucher to Mexico. So that's something that I'm so psyched about that I can actually do. Because if if I can provide stress reducing art, you might as well go on a stress reduced vacation.
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic. Oh my goodness.
So I'm doing that. Just was possible last month. So I'm really, really excited about that. You can find me on Facebook. And on Facebook, I'm Temi Fine Arts, Modern Contemporary. And on Instagram, I'm also on Instagram, and it's at Temi_Modern Art. And with no S. So you can find me on those 3 channels, and feel free to contact me. I'm very, very open and conversational, if that is a word.
I love it.
Yes,
and I will definitely make sure to provide the links in the write-up for this program today. But it's truly been a blessing, and I don't want to let you go. I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but I just really want to, on behalf of everybody listening, and on behalf of myself, who has been through something similar but not even close, like, you are such an amazing soul.
God bless you.
I love the light that radiates from you, and you are such a gift to this world that I cannot wait to share. I can't wait to share your information to everybody. So for those of you listening, go and check out her work. It is amazing. I cannot wait to line my walls with it. So Temi, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Laurie, you're a blessing, Laurie. Thank you for doing this, because a lot of people don't know where to go. And thank you for providing this avenue, this tool, this resource. Thank you for your spirit. Just God bless you. Because if I knew you existed when I needed the help, I would have reached out just to listen to what other people had to say. But I did it on my own. I'm a survivor. We're here, and I'm happy I can give back. But just thank you for this opportunity to speak to you and your viewers. God bless you all. Thank you.
And the honor is mine. Thank you.
All right. God bless.